Have you ever watched something and thought, wow, that's not just good, that's genius? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a brilliantly designed e-learning lesson to figure out exactly what makes it tick. So let's just start with the core problem, right? Think about it for a second. How on earth do you explain something as abstract as grammar, these invisible rules of language, to a 6-year-old, especially one who might be learning English for the first time? It feels like a huge mountain to climb. So in this explainer, we're going to break down a tiny 7-minute video for English language learners that absolutely nails it. We're going to deconstruct it piece by piece to see how it turns those confusing, abstract rules into lessons you can actually see and understand. Okay, so here's the lesson we're putting under the microscope. It's called My World, Nouns and Articles. Like I said, it's only 7 minutes long, and it's made for young kids learning English. The goals seem simple, but they're so important. Help kids figure out what a noun is and teach them how to use a and an. Every great lesson, every great explanation, it all starts by building a solid foundation. You know, you can't build a house on sand, right? And you definitely can't teach grammar without first making the basic ideas super clear. Let's see how they do it. The video doesn't just start with a boring definition. No, it starts with an invitation. Let's discover the names of things around us. That one little phrase is so smart because it immediately connects this big idea of nouns to the kid's own world, making it feel personal and kind of like a fun game. And then comes the definition. But look how clean and simple this is. A noun is just the names of people, places, animals, things. That's it. No jargon, nothing complicated. It's a definition a first grader can get right away. This is that solid ground that the rest of the lesson is going to be built on. Okay, so the foundation is set. Now, the lesson moves on to its next brilliant move, making these invisible rules something you can actually see. This is where things get really clever, turning abstract ideas into concrete visuals. For example, how do you teach plurals? You could just say add an S. But this lesson shows you. First, one cat pops up. Then a little animated S literally flies in and attaches to the word. And boom, the picture changes to a whole bunch of cats. The rule isn't just explained, it's demonstrated. You can't misunderstand it. And it gets even more creative when it has to teach a trickier rule, like when to use a versus an. Get this, it uses an animated talking mouth to show you how your mouth physically makes vowel and consonant sounds. It connects the grammar rule to the actual act of speaking. So cool. And here's the rule itself, laid out in this perfectly clear side-by-side comparison. On one side, a goes with consonant sounds. On the other, an goes with vowel sounds. This visual layout just makes the two-part rule crystal clear. It's so easy to compare and lock it into your memory. All right, so the student understands the idea, they've seen it visualized, but how do you make sure that knowledge doesn't just, evaporate once the video's over? The next step is all about bridging that gap between the lesson and real life. The way the video does this is by showing a scene that every kid will recognize, a classroom. In this little animation, a teacher points to things and the students use the exact rules they just learned. A book, an eraser. It's like a practice round in a safe, familiar setting. And then comes the masterstroke. The lesson ends with a direct challenge that pushes the learning right off the screen and into the student's own home. This isn't just homework, it's a mission. It gets the kid to actively go use their new skills in their own space, which makes that connection totally solid. Okay, but there's one last absolutely crucial piece to this whole puzzle. How do you keep a young learner focused and engaged through all this? Well, the video does it with smart, simple, interactive games that make learning feel, well, like playing. First up is the one or many game. And the learning loop here is just perfect. An image pops up, you get a simple question, you make a choice, and you get immediate feedback. That super simple loop of question, response, and reinforcement is so powerful for making a concept like singular versus plural really stick. Then there's another game that directly practices the a versus an and rule. Different things pop up on the screen, an apple, a book, whatever, and the student has to actively remember the rule and apply it over and over again. This isn't passive learning, it's active practice, and that is everything when it comes to mastery. So when you put all the pieces together, you can see the genius here. It isn't just one thing, it's the combination of these 4 killer strategies. It starts with dead simple definitions. It uses clear visuals to make abstract ideas real. It creates strong connections to the real world, and it uses fun, active games to make sure the knowledge sticks. It all just works. And it leaves you with this one big question. I mean, this was all about a grammar lesson for a first grader. But just imagine, what if every context thing we had to learn, as kids or even as adults, was taught with this much care and this much brilliant design? What would we be capable of then?